today. So my name is David Gray. I'm an analyst in the business. I'm joined today by my colleague Flo, and we'll be talking you through some of these key latest developments from some of the leading retailers over the past quarter. A bit about us. So we are a global intelligence and advisory business focused on helping FMCG suppliers and retailers make informed and smart decisions in a changing retail world. So quickly moving on to the agenda in terms of the key stuff we'll be talking about. We'll be giving you an introduction to the winning strategies. There are four: store of the future, shopper engagement and retention, e-commerce and digital ecosystem management, and supply chain and fulfillment. And we'll be looking at key initiatives within each of those areas. We'll then go on to look at some M&A activity. So we know that Amazon has acquired PillPack in the quarter, so that will be interesting. Flo will be talking through that, and then we'll move on to look at a few recommendations. So in terms of the initiatives that we'll be talking about within each winning strategy, we'll be talking, if for example we take e-commerce and digital ecosystem, we'll be talking about Carrefour and its recent deal it signed with Google. A big trend at the moment is retailers forming partnerships with these digital technology companies. Within supply chain and fulfillment, for example, on the bottom left there, we'll be looking at Walmart and its efforts to increasingly automate online grocery. So with that, I'll hand over to my colleague Flo, who'll be taking us through some initiatives on Store of the Future.
Thanks, David. So we've seen some really significant stories emerging over the last few months when it comes to Store of the Future. But before I delve into those, I just wanted to briefly highlight some of the work that we're doing here on Store of the Future, including a benchmarking exercise which we run to help support our clients in this area. And what this benchmarking exercise does is it can show you which competitors you're behind or ahead of and how to close the gap. It can help you to raise awareness of what your competitors are doing in terms of their Store of the Future capabilities, as well as inform your go-to-market strategy. And we can also provide some really actionable recommendations to help support you in your overall store network development. So if this is something that sounds at all of interest to you, if you want to know more about our Store of the Future advisory services or our general advisory services in general, then please contact your account manager directly if you're a current client, or you can email clientservices@planetretail.net. If you're a prospective client and you'd like to learn more, then please contact either me directly. Our emails will be at the end of this webinar, or you can email info@planetretail.net. So back to the Store of the Future initiatives then. And we saw some really interesting initiatives over the past few months. And one of the key themes that I wanted to call out today was the rise of pure play players such as Amazon and Alibaba, who traditionally operate online, really ramping up their store presence. So in August, we saw Alibaba raise its target for its new Hema store openings to 100 new stores in 2018. In August and through to September, Amazon really ramped up its store opening program with 3 new Amazon Go stores. And then in September, we also saw Tesco unveiling a new discount banner called Jack's, which is a really significant story as well. So looking at Alibaba then, it raised its store opening target for its Hema supermarkets to 100 for 2018. And if you haven't seen these Hema stores before, I'd really recommend you go and have a look at them online. They're really revolutionary in terms of their digital integration and the way they combine the online and offline channels. And in terms of looking at this in practice, you can see this on the image on the right-hand side here. The stores are basically used as warehouses for online orders as well as supermarket shopping. So this basket here is being transported around the store to pick and pack a customer online order. So this is really revolutionary, and there's also a focus on fresh as well. You can see that here in the image with customers picking out fish to have on the on-site restaurant as well. So I think this is a really significant story in that it emphasizes this trend more towards the store and online to offline integration in markets such as China, and increasingly other markets such as the US and UK are increasingly looking towards China for inspiration in this area. In August, we also saw Amazon really ramping up its store presence through 3 new Amazon Go stores. So these are in addition to Amazon's original and only Amazon Go store in Seattle. Again, these stores are really quite revolutionary in terms of their technology. They are checkoutless, so cameras track shoppers' movements and payments throughout the store. So payments are taken automatically on the way out via a mobile app. And this is really targeted at more of a convenience shopping mission. So I think this is significant because it highlights how Amazon is actually now focusing on the store as well as its online operations. And it could also transform the way that we see shopping going forward in terms of this more checkoutless automated shopping experience. And we are seeing other retailers such as Tesco and Sainsbury's in the UK and Ahold Delhaize in the Netherlands starting to test some of these concepts themselves. I think it's important to say this is still very much in test and learn stage at the moment, but certainly this is going to be more influential as Amazon ramps up going forward. And then finally, moving on to Tesco. So they launched a really significant initiative in September through a new discount banner called Jack's. And we were lucky to attend the launch event of this on the 19th of September in Chatteris, Cambridgeshire, which is the location of the first new store. Jack's has got a really distinctive proposition as a discount chain. It aims to be the cheapest store in town. And certainly when we visited the store, it was remarkably similar to an Aldi or a Lidl, predominantly private label, about 70% of the lines are private label, and also a really strong emphasis on British provenance. So what does this development mean? I think firstly, it's going to really appeal to growing consumer concerns that we're seeing at the moment in the UK around the economic and supply chain uncertainty, and also demand for more sustainably sourced products. I don't think it's going to have a drastic impact on market shares and the discounters in the short term, as Tesco is only looking at around 10 to 15 store openings over the next year. But time will tell as to whether they do ramp this up, and they certainly will do this if the test concepts prove successful. So I'm going to move on now to talk about e-commerce and digital ecosystem management, and I'll pass on to David.
Thanks very much, Flo, for that. A very, very interesting summary there on initiatives in store of the future. I'll just talk you through now e-commerce and digital ecosystem. And really, we had two major developments in the quarter within this winning strategy within e-commerce and digital ecosystem. They were obviously Carrefour, very, very significant that Carrefour in June 2018 signed a deal with Google really to drive its omni-channel strategy. We know there's a major transformation program underway at Carrefour, and also across the pond over in the US, we've seen Kroger expanding its online grocery service through the launch of Ship, so a new online grocery service. To start off with, then looking in a bit more detail at the Carrefour and Google partnership, this is a very, very significant development. We are seeing an increasing step up in the number of retailers partnering with tech companies. We have seen Carrefour partnering with Google this quarter, but Carrefour obviously partnered with Tencent earlier in the year. We've also seen Google ramping up the number of retailers it partners with in the US, partnering with the likes of Walmart, the likes of Target, the likes of Kroger. So this is becoming a really big trend, these retailers looking to partner with companies such as Google. So what are the sort of details in terms of this partnership? Well, Carrefour and Google will be essentially, Carrefour and Google will be developing a dedicated site on Google France, and Carrefour products will be able to be bought through Google's connected speakers and voice-enabled devices. So customers will be able to use voice technology to acquire Carrefour products. I think for Carrefour, this really shows the scale of its ambition in terms of its digital transformation to really drive online sales and digital excellence. So really major development here, and something I think we'll see more of. And I think you can see also here on the left, we've got the ecosystem for Carrefour, and you can see that increasingly Carrefour's building a very, very sophisticated ecosystem, partnering with with various partners, even fulfillment partners such as Stewart and the La Poste Group too. In terms of the Kroger partnership, the Kroger online grocery offer in the US. For those of you that know about Kroger, they are very, very successful in terms of click and collect, a very, very successful click list service where you order products and you pick up, but then increasingly now looking to move to actual home delivery of grocery orders, and that's where this service Ship comes in. So a significant move for Kroger. This service will offer 4,500 own brand SKUs plus 50,000 branded SKUs. And I think it's important to take this in context. So Kroger is increasingly looking to ramp up its home delivery capability. For any of you that have been following Kroger in recent months, there's obviously the partnership with Ocado. Kroger will be leveraging Ocado, the UK online pure play grocery operator. Kroger will be leveraging their technology in a future online grocery business. And I think Kroger here is really responding to the growing array of delivery options from rivals. We're seeing a lot of efforts in that area. For example, Target with its Shipt acquisition. And now we'll move on to look at some initiatives in terms of supply chain and fulfillment. Three main initiatives to look at: Alibaba moving into food delivery services, pledging increased funding for LME. In China, we've got Walmart looking to increasingly use robots, increasingly automate its online grocery business. Then we've got Aldi working increasingly with intermediaries, increasingly with Instacart, to offer an online grocery service in an increasing number of zip codes in the US. So to start off with, in terms of Alibaba, so Alibaba has pledged additional funding for LME, its on-demand food service delivery service. It actually earlier in the year took a controlling stake in this business. It already had a stake, but it took a controlling stake, which really shows its ambition to expand into China's fast-growing market for local delivery of food. I think long term, Alibaba sees LME's logistics network as being critical and playing a significant role in fulfillment for Tmall and Taobao, and enabling really faster 30-minute delivery service, such as what they've been doing with their Hema supermarkets in China. So a very, very interesting development indeed. And in terms of Walmart, as I touched on this earlier, but Walmart is trialing a robotics system called AlphaBot in a super center in the US. It's built a 20,000 square foot extension to an existing super center, and effectively the technology works by the robot, whereas previously you'd have had a picker moving on foot around a store, which obviously is a lot of labor costs. There'll be this AlphaBot robot will move around the store and bring the orders to the picker, who then just places them in the bags or ready to go to the customer. So really a focus there on efficiency, on reducing staffing costs and increasing efficiency. And I think this is really important, as we know the issues around the cost of fulfillment in online grocery. The cost of fulfillment is typically very high, is typically higher than the price of the home delivery fees. So we can see the motivation here from Walmart to push forward with introducing this robotics type technology. And obviously Walmart's not alone. We've got other pure play retailers that use this type of technology, such as Ocado, who've got a robotics lab in the UK. They've been developing similar type concepts. And our final initiative over the quarter within supply chain and fulfillment was Aldi in the US. So Aldi in the US has been ramping up its online grocery proposition, working with intermediaries. So it works with Instacart, And it says that it's planning to roll this partnership out nationwide, so to make the delivery service available for a vastly increased number of postal codes in the US. I think it really shows Aldi's determination to try and do online grocery, to try and expand into online grocery in the US. And I think really it also, the fact that Aldi's working with an intermediary really shows that the sheer geographic size of the US means often American grocers are choosing to work with these intermediaries such as Instacart. So, an interesting development there from the German discounter Aldi.
Thanks, David. So I'm now going to talk about our last winning strategy, which is shopper engagement and retention. So we've seen a couple of notable initiatives in this space over the past couple of months. So the first one comes from Coles, which in July trialled a loyalty program really similar to Amazon Prime with its Flybuy Max scheme. And then into September, we also saw Carrefour doing some really interesting work in the sustainability area through setting ambitious food sustainability goals as part of its Act for Food program. So talking about Coles then, they introduced a new premium subscription tier trial to their Flybuys loyalty scheme. So what Flybuys is, it was already running previously for Coles. It's an Australian loyalty scheme which is operated by Wesfarmers, which owns the Coles banner. And basically customers can accrue points across a number of Australian retailers, and Coles is one of those, and they can redeem these points on products and experiences. What the new program is it's an additional kind of premium tier to this original Flybuy scheme, which is a subscription scheme based program. Similar to Amazon Prime, so customers can pay either 10 Australian dollars a month or 99 Australian dollars a year to receive benefits such as discounted food and free home delivery. At the moment, the program is just being trialled with employees and friends and family of employees, but it does seem to be ramping out in terms of other customers as well. So I think this is significant because it highlights how the presence of Amazon is causing and triggering some of these kinds of developments from Australian retailers as well. Amazon had a relatively slow start since launching at the end of last year, but it is ramping up its presence. And I think this subscription-based loyalty program is increasingly popular now amongst retailers to really try and lock customers in. So we've seen similar things from Walmart and Kroger in the US with these types of subscription programs. And they really kind of help to get consumers in and make these retailers more competitive and more incentivized customers. And then moving on to our second shopper engagement and retention example. This is from Carrefour. So they launched an ambitious set of food sustainability goals in September, and they're engaging with shoppers a lot in this field actually, and it's quite a timely move. So we've been reporting for some time now that consumers are becoming more and more demanding in terms of more information required around transparency of product sourcing and information. And Carrefour is really one of the pioneers in this area, and particularly as it's actually formalizing its goals into a set of concrete initiatives. So the program is called Act for Food. It's got a set of 9 different commitments, so things like doubling the number of products in its vegetarian range and guaranteeing organic produce as well. I think the challenge for Carrefour here will be how it communicates these goals with its customers to actually achieve closer engagement. And one of the things that it is actually doing in this space is through using better engagement in store. And you can see this here in the image on the right-hand side. This is a Carrefour store that we visited in Barcelona. And you can see in this bio area, which is their natural and sustainably sourced range of products, they've got digital signage which is pointing to product origins and product information. So a good example of how you can engage customers in store on some initiatives. So then finally, just wanted to touch on some mergers, acquisitions and alliances that have been happening into Q3. And we try to capture these at Planet Retail as they tend to have quite significant impacts on the retail landscape. And we did see that through Amazon's acquisition of PillPack right at the start of the quarter. So for those of you that don't know much about PillPack, it's an online pharmacy. It organises prescription medication and vitamins and delivers them to customers' homes in the US. And users receive their medication on a monthly basis, and they've got a mobile app as well that they can use to manage this. I think the main thing that Amazon gets through this is pharmaceutical distribution licenses in all 50 US states, and it also has relationships with insurance companies now as a result of this acquisition. And this is really a key move for Amazon in terms of its influence on the healthcare industry. It has been gradually kind of increasing its presence in this area through the launch of its own over-the-counter private label medication, but this is pretty significant and could certainly have impact on the future healthcare industry. So definitely one to watch going forward.
Thanks very much there, Flo. So a really interesting set of key initiatives over the past quarter. I just wanted to take this opportunity to share with you that we do in the full report have very detailed section on recommendations by CPG sector. So for those of you that are existing clients, you can download the full report, and there you will have a set of recommendations by those CPG sectors. If you're not a client, then please do get in touch with us. Just before moving on to questions, just wanted to remind you about our Store of the Future advisory benchmarking work. If you are interested in us helping you in terms of your Store of the Future, if you're a current client, please contact your account manager directly or by emailing clientservices@planetretail.net. If you're a prospective client and would like to learn more about the advisory services we offer, then please email us at info@planetretail.net. I'm pleased to say we do have a bit of time now to move on to questions, so thank you very much. Quite a few questions have come in over the session, so thank you for your questions. We've got an interesting one here. I think this might be one for you, Flo. So really, out of all the retailer initiatives discussed, which do you believe is the most significant initiative from Q3?
Yeah, I think I would probably say the one that I find the most kind of impactful is the Amazon store openings story. So I think not just the fact that they've opened 3 new Amazon Go stores, but also the fact that it's been reported that they're looking at up to 3,000 new store openings now between now and 2019. They've also opened a really interesting new store concept called Amazon's 4-star store, where all the products in that store are rated at least 4 out of 5 stars on Amazon.com's online site. So using their kind of online data to drive and open new creative store concepts. So I think just in general, Amazon is really starting now to focus more on the store itself. And obviously for other retailers in this space, you know, this is going to create a lot more competition. Up until now, they've been really focused on digital and expanding this ecosystem. But, you know, the fact that they're now looking at all these stores as well, that could really create some kind of challenges for other retailers, but also I think in terms of how that could trigger future transformation of the store with things like the technology that they're now using with the checkoutless stores, with the really kind of transformative digital integration, and also using all of this online data now to drive what the assortment and the distribution of the physical store looks like. So I think, yeah, definitely this Amazon store focus is going to be one to watch going forward.
Thanks for that, Flo. And yeah, we do have some more questions coming in fact. So we've got another one here again, maybe one for you, Flo. So someone said that it seems acquisitions and alliances are becoming more of a theme for retailers. Is this the case? You know, why do you think this is happening?
Yes, so I think that definitely is a trend that we're seeing. So we do tend to track these alliances, big acquisitions and mergers, and definitely over the past year or so, we've seen a definite ramp up in terms of this trend. I think there's probably two key strands to this theme. So the first is retailers looking more for synergies and efficiencies in terms of buying. And that's really being driven by a much more competitive market, the rise of the discounters, emergence of digital players, retailers really kind of struggling in terms of cost. And so I think particularly in Europe, actually, we've seen a number of recent alliances, the likes of Tesco and Carrefour working together, Metro, Casino, Dia and Auchan are also partnering in an alliance in Europe. So this is really helping them to try and kind of focus on cost. And then I think the second key theme in this area, which is really ramping up, is more around the digital focus. So retailers using acquisitions and alliances to expand their digital ecosystems. And I guess the Amazon acquisition of PillPack, because PillPack is an online company, I think this is a good example of this, and this is going to be definitely a growing theme as retailers seek to kind of become more dominant in the whole ecosystem, as well as just their key kind of physical channels as well.
Thanks very much there, Flo. Yeah, and I think we might have time for one more question. So we've had a question in from an audience member about the French market. So how has France's online food market been evolving over the past year? What are the latest developments? I think there's some really interesting things going on in France, and it's a very timely question because today we've just had the news from Monoprix about the partnership between Amazon Prime Now and Monoprix. So this partnership has been performing very, very well, with sales 2 to 3 times ahead of what they expected. I think what we're seeing in France really is French retailers look to enhance their fulfillment capability. We're seeing Monoprix partnering with Amazon Prime Now. We're seeing Casino planning to work with Ocado to get back-end support for their online grocery business. So a lot of big developments going on, and we've obviously also got Carrefour with its major transformation plan targeting 5 billion euros in online food sales within 5 years under this Carrefour 2022 plan. So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the French market, going on in online food retail in general. I mean, we touched on Ocado working with Kroger today, but Ocado has also got partnerships with other retailers around the world, in Scandinavia, in France now through Casino. So a lot of interesting developments. So with that, I think we are just out of time. We just have 1 minute to spare. So I just wanted to really take this opportunity to thank you for joining our webinar today. It was great to have you all on the line. I hope you found the session interactive and interesting. And yeah, that's thanks from us. Thank you.